What is up, y'all? No big intro on this one. I just want to get straight into it and show something that unfortunately has been happening a lot on Zwift lately. I think it's always been happening, but this has reared its head in the Premier League recently. We've got a pretty good finish going on a Downtown Dolphin crit. We're jumping right into the last half of the last lap here. I love the Downtown Dolphin direction. It's got the hill. It's got all these twists and turns that make it possible to get out of sight. So you generally get these little attacks, people trying to get up the road, and it gets pretty tactical, more so than just a straight up roll into the sprint at speed and sprint for it. Here we are inside the last 300 meters, which is about where I like to go. 275 meters, I hit my power up, stand up, and I'm actually looking down at the screen on my companion app device and just trying to make that number as high as I can for as long as I can without even looking up. But looking up, it's pretty clear where I'm at here. I'm third across the line, and then when the results come up, it doesn't jive exactly. So I'm second in the results. I'm going to play that back one time. Let's look at it in slow-mo this time to make sure I'm not crazy and pick out exactly who's who. So we've got the SZ rider up there in the blue kit. We've got the sign rider right behind him as we cross under the archway. We're 1, 2, 3. Pretty obvious there. Still, even as the results are populating, that sign rider is still pretty clearly in front of me. Now let's take one more look at this, and this time watch the rider list on the top right here. As I'm moving forward through the group, it jumps up to third, back down to 7th, 9th, 4th. It's all over the place, but I'm clearly just moving forward through the group that whole time on my own screen. So where is this discrepancy coming from? The short answer is client-side positioning. What client-side positioning means is that Zwift is sending a limited amount of information to each individual person's device. So to my computer, to other people's iPhones or Apple TVs that they're running the game on. They're not actually getting a complete picture from Zwift of exactly where everyone is on the road. They're getting a limited amount of information about how much power that person is doing, about what speed they're going, and that information comes through at a certain interval, and based on that, each device individually is rendering those riders rather than all of us being sent the same thing. So the server on Zwift's end decides where everyone is and then sends that to all of us. Why would they do it that way? So Zwift does that so that it will run smoother and you won't see people bouncing around if you have a particularly bad internet connection, or I won't see you bouncing around if your internet upload is not great. So why am I pointing this out? On a platform that is hosting the Esports World Championships coming up as I'm editing this, on a platform where races often roll around in a blob like we're looking at right now and then come down to a sprint finish that's decided by fractions of a second between the top 10 places, that accuracy is very crucial. I'm not saying this just to dunk on Zwift or because I hate Zwift racing. I actually love Zwift racing. That's why I'm going so deep on all of this as I analyze it. But as I go so deep down the rabbit hole of tactics and strategy and analyzing Zwift, I've got to point this out because it just continues to rear its head. And I know I'm not the first person to bring this up or even the first person to make a video about it. This was just such an obvious and egregious example. I wanted to put a quick clip up where it's easily digestible what's going on, because I think a lot of people don't really get what is meant when people say client-side positioning or when people say the results are inaccurate. So this is a pretty clear example. And, you know, I would love to see a future version of Zwift where this doesn't happen. I'm not saying I'm not going to race on it in the meantime, but if you ever wonder why I preach so much about RGT does do server-side positioning. So the results that you see on your screen are always the results everyone sees on their own screen. So you can find me on both platforms. I think it's also just fine to like two different video games. Just because you play Mario Kart doesn't mean you got to throw your copy of Forza in the trash and vice versa. I think that applies here as well. Hopefully this shed a little light on it. Let me know in the comments if y'all have additional questions. I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion. There always is around this topic. If you have found this helpful and you want more analytical content about indoor racing, indoor training, outdoor racing, outdoor training, all of that stuff, subscribe to the channel, like it, all of that good stuff. See you guys next time. Thanks. And then I got a couple hours yesterday here on the mountain bike.